folks, nice to see you. You'll see me most Tuesdays up here as well because I'm part of the chaplaincy team, so do feel free to have a conversation. It's always nice to talk. Passes my day a bit more quickly in the midst as well. What do I live for? That is one half of the question that I was given. I seem to be given two halves of questions. What do I live for and what is my purpose? So I want to think a little bit more on what do I live for. If you'd asked me that question when I was a teenager, I would have said football. Break time, lunchtime, after school, evening, weekend, doesn't matter, hail, rain, shine, snow, I was outside playing football. That was my life until, of course, my dad said to me one day, what about your studies? And got so annoyed with me that he threatened to drive me through to Muirton Park, which was the then home of St Johnstone Football Club, so the manager could give me a trial and tell me how rubbish I actually was. Bit gutting, isn't it? Who's got dads like that? No, we'll not ask that question. On into my working career. I started off in banking and finance. I wanted to be the best of the best. I wanted to climb the ladder, get to the top. And for the first few years, that's how it worked out. All my energies put into my career. And I was climbing well until all of a sudden things stopped and I discovered that my boss was keeping my personnel file and not passing it on to anybody else, so I was stuck in a rut. But of course, we managed to come out of that and move on. But there was some purpose in both of those things. That's what I wanted to live for, that's what I wanted to do. But when troubles come, when priorities change a little bit, we struggle. The roots that we put down are maybe not enough for us. So what do I live for? Today, I live for Jesus. That's what I've learned over the years, and I'll tell you a little bit about that as we go. But what about you? If I was to ask you the question today, what would you say? What do I live for? What is my purpose? For so many today, it's the parties, the friends, the social activities, the social status. Dare I say it, actually. But those, like my football dreams and like my career, are no guarantees of lasting success or even actually of lasting satisfaction. For others, it's our studies, our desire to make something of ourselves, to carve out a career. But then the firm goes bust, our health takes a dip, family struggles kick in, no guarantee of success. How do we cope? How do we survive? And indeed, how do we thrive? Well, it's all to do with foundations, building your life on a solid platform. It's about putting down roots that are deep enough in the right places to allow us to survive. Everyone's life has a foundation, but not all foundations are equal. Everyone puts their hope and their trust in something, and what we put our hope and our trust in becomes the foundation of our life. Some people build their foundation on money, believing that somehow if we have more money, then everything's going to be hunky-dory and I'll be happy all of my days. Others do it on possessions, trusting that those possessions will give us satisfaction all of our days. Lots of people build their foundation on popularity, being liked and wanted, thinking that if I've just got the right friends, then everything's going to be fine. And those are just some great examples. The truth is, you can build your life on just about any number of things. Fame, grades, appointments, achievements, sex, sports, music, drugs, alcohol, beauty, video games, shopping, texting. You get the picture, don't you? Give this question some thought. What are you building your life upon? Not all of those things listed there are bad for us, but every one of them is temporary. When the storms of life come, and they will come, those things, well, they all just go away. Here's the thing. If your life is built on any of those temporary things, what happens when the foundation doesn't last? So let me ask that question again. What are you building your life on? In the Bible, Jesus talks of two builders. He refers to one as wise and one as foolish. Both builders get exactly the same instructions. They heard them. They know what to do. They know what they ought to do. But guess what? One does it and one it doesn't. Sounds so like so many of us, isn't it? We know what to do, but we think we know best sometimes and do something different. The wise man listens to the instructions. He takes his knowledge, his head knowledge, and puts it into practice. He builds a house and he builds it on a firm foundation. He gets the foundation right, and it is strong. So when the winds come and the rains come, his house stood firm. It took a beating from the elements, but it stood strong because the wise man listened and had his foundation well. The foolish man took those same instructions, thought he knew best, and decided to ignore them and go and build his house on the sand. The foundations there were not good, they were not strong. And so when the storm came, the wind and the rain, the house was just blown away, fallen down. The foolish man had the knowledge, but didn't use it well. Now I suspect if you looked at those two houses on the face of it, they would have looked the same. Same number of windows, same doors, same roof, same chimney. Well, those days you had a chimney in your house, maybe. They both looked the same. But underneath, they were so different. One built on the right foundations and one not. Where are your foundations? What are you building your life on? For many, we build our foundations on what our parents have said to us, how they've brought us up. We build on what we learn at school and at university. And of course, I probably should say university is a good place to learn. Lots of life lessons at university. We build on what our friends say. And many of those can be good. But ultimately, we need more than that, I would suggest. I'm a Christian. That means I believe in Jesus. I believe in God. I believe that God made the world and everything in it. I believe that He made me. And so if He made everything, if He made me, He knows how life should be lived. He knows how I should be living life. So I ought to build my foundation on Him. I ought to build my life on Him. How do you build your life on Jesus? How do I build my life on that solid rock? Well, the answer is quite simple, really. In the Bible, in that story of the wise and the foolish man, Jesus says in Luke 6:47, you can check it out later if you don't believe me. He says, I will show you what He is like who comes to me and hears my words and puts them into practice. We are to come to Jesus. And that's a big step for our world today. Wants nothing to do with Jesus. He's nothing more than a swear word to so many people, a piece of fiction and a storybook for so many others. But I want to challenge you to see past all of that. Don't go on the hearsay of others. Don't go on your own past prejudices or lack of knowledge. Come and check Him out. How do you check Jesus out? Well, read His Bible. Read all about Him right in there. Grab the Gospel of Mark. It's the shortest one to read. Find out more about Jesus. You come to Jesus. The verse says then that you hear His words. And that's that reading again. It's reading what God says in His Word. It's about putting that into practice in your life. And the best way to do that is to grab a Bible. And if you don't have one, then ask somebody to see you here, because they'll find you one. Or they'll show you an app on your phone these days, because it's all on your phone, isn't it? It's all there for us. Get along to some of the CU meetings and learn more about Jesus. Building a foundation involves more than just coming and learning, though. It means we need to put it into practice. As we hear the Word, look for ways to live it out. That's how faith develops. Taking a risk and doing something. Building the right foundation. Quick change of metaphors before I finish, because I like my garden. And it's good to think about putting down roots. I've got a nice veg plot in my garden that I've just redone this year. And it's important when you're growing your own vegetables, growing your own plants and flowers, that you take the seed and you pot it very carefully in good soil in a nice little pot in a nice warm location. And as it begins to grow a little bit, you take it out of that small pot and very carefully with those fledgling roots, you put it into a bigger pot of good soil and you take care of it for a little while longer, and then just at the right time you take it out of that big pot, taking care of those roots, and you put it in good soil in a nice location. And then the beauty is, as the summer goes on, I get some nice carrots and cabbage to eat out of the garden. I get some nice flowers, beautiful colours to put on display around the house. If I plant those seeds in the wrong place, in hard soil, in dry spots, in cold places, then they will simply shrivel up and die. Important to plant carefully. Where are you putting your roots? What are the things that you trust in? Is it a relationship that's not good for you? An activity that brings some instant pleasure but actually over the course brings lasting pain? A job that promises much but delivers so little? Can I encourage you to think about putting your roots in Jesus? How do you do that? Is that back to that simple thing again? Reading, learning, living for Jesus. It's about living in community, spurring one another on in our daily walks. I have to tell you that storms do come in life. It's not just that wonderful couple of weeks of freshers when everything's new and exciting and wonderful. Storms do come. You might think that life is a breeze, that things are always easy, but it can be hard. And when you're building your life on the foundation of Jesus, those storms are a lot less intimidating, trust me. You may get hurt, but your foundation won't crack and give way. The winds may bend you, but they will not break that strong root. My life is built on the foundation of Jesus. I spent years putting my roots down in Him, and I have to say, there's been loads of good times, but there have been a few struggles as well. And I have been glad in those moments to have the right foundation. So can I just encourage you, as you start out on a new academic year, can I encourage you in life in general to make strong foundations, to put your roots down deep? What do I live for? What do I live for? I live for Jesus. Thanks for listening. Hope that gives you something to think about. I'm sure you've got plenty of things to chat about around the tables, but if you want a couple of questions just to throw in there, think about that and chat about it to yourselves. What do I live for? What am I building my life on? What is my hope in? Who do I trust? Some things just to think about as you chat and as you go about your day. But thanks for listening, and build some good foundations this year.